Silent Hill is a game that people have been speedrunning for nearly 2 decades now, the earliest run I could find being published on Speed Demo's archive by Ecudet back in 2004. As you may imagine, in the 17 years since that run, tons of ideas for potential time saves have been tested and theorized over and over again as runners have sought to scrape seconds off their time in this very optimized game. I'm here to tell you the story of a time save so granular it barely exists inside the game itself and goes to show the ridiculous lengths that the Silent Hill community will go to push for that one extra second. This is the most obscure time save in Silent Hill speedrunning.
And our story shall begin at the end.
More specifically, the UFO end. The UFO ending is a joke ending of Silent Hill obtained by using an item called the Channeling Stone in a few key locations throughout the game. It can only be obtained on a New Game Plus playthrough, off a file that has obtained the best ending possible of Good Plus. Completing the UFO ending itself unlocks a bonus weapon called the Hyper Blaster, inserted into the player's inventory on loading their New Game Plus file. The gun itself fires a constant laser beam that deals rapid damage and has unlimited ammo. On paper, this sounds really good, but attempting to integrate it into any route has proved consistently challenging. The unlocking criteria means it only is available in New Game Plus files, so it's incompatible with normal any % type categories from the word go. But what about the categories that can use it? Well, firstly, the Hyper Blaster's power is affected by the rank you get on the previous playthrough, with its highest power being made available if you can achieve a perfect 10-star ranking. There is a speedrun category for achieving this 10-star ranking as Silent Hill's loose analog to a 100% category, and while it is slightly weird to use the category's own reward to speedrun it, there's nothing stopping this from being used. Not by the rules of the category, anyway. However, this seems like a no-go per the ranking system, because it penalizes you for using bonus weapons like the Hyper Blaster in the first place, according to this formula, which I have helpfully translated for you from the 1999 strategy guide Silent Hill Perfect Navigation book. I'm not going to explain entirely how this formula works because it's not really that important. All you need to know is that the game docks you points for using the Hyper Blaster. But if you inspect the formula closer, you see the number of times you've completed the game increases the amount you're allowed to use bonus weapons without getting penalized. So in theory, a save file that has cleared the game the maximum number of 99 times could use the Hyper Blaster hundreds of times to no consequence. So that works, right? No, it doesn't. Because of another bit of ranking criteria called the aiming style, which refers to what distance your shots landed from and is calculated with this formula. The relevant article from this formula is no aiming shots, which as you can see severely detract from your total score. This normally simply refers to shots that didn't hit an enemy at all, or inexplicably any shot done by the Hyper Blaster at all, whether or not it hits. Since the Hyper Blaster is a rapid-firing weapon, any substantial usage of it at all will push your no-aiming shots way up, very likely causing you to fail the requirement. Notably, melee weapons are not subject to aiming style scoring, hence the actual 10-star route currently makes prominent use of bonus weapons like the Katana instead. So for 10-star, it's no good, it's out, doesn't work here. But what about inside its own ending, the UFO ending? This is another thing that sounds good on paper, since the Hyper Blaster is added to your inventory automatically on game start if unlocked, so having access to a strong weapon could allow you to skip collecting the shotgun entirely, which would save time. However, we once again find ourselves stymied by the ranking system, since in order to have access to the most powerful Hyper Blaster, you need to have achieved a 10-star rank, and that can only be achieved by completing the game on hard mode. This means any save file that has the green Hyper Blaster unlocked is inherently a hard mode file, as there is no way to lower the difficulty of a New Game Plus file. And while the green Hyper Blaster is strong, and for a time it looked like this route could have been competitive, it gradually fell out of favour as it became apparent that you simply lose too much time from the increased health pool of hard mode bosses, which is often double or more compared to their normal mode counterparts. Okay, so what if we just use the yellow Hyper Blaster, which can be earned by achieving roughly an 8-star ranking instead, so this can be achieved without putting the game into hard mode. The wiki even says it's just as strong as the shotgun, and that's true. Kind of. The yellow Hyper Blaster does equivalent damage to one pellet of the shotgun, and not the entire blast. Once again, the Perfect Navigation book provides us with hard numbers, putting the shotgun's damage at a potential maximum of 600 on an absolutely point-blank connect, while the yellow Hyper Blaster only does 150 damage per hit. The numbers just don't check out in the Hyper Blaster's favour. So, once again, our beloved laser gun fails to make a case for itself in the route, every theorized usage not quite working out for it. You know, the Hyper Blaster is based on an actual light gun peripheral for the PS1. It was called the Konami Justifier in America, but the Hyper Blaster in Europe and Japan, just like in the game. This might seem like a weird tangent, but I'm going somewhere with this, trust me. The design seems to have been modelled after the appearance of the guns in the first game the peripheral supported, Project Horndowl in 1995. Which is weird, really, since that game isn't published or made by Konami. In fact, Konami only published 2 games that support their own peripheral, being Crypt Killer and the PS1 ports of the 2 Lethal Enforcers games, both releasing in 1997. 2 years after Project Horndal. Weird, right? Anyway, all of this is to say that the Hyperblaster in Silent Hill is modeled after an actual product that Konami was selling at the time. So remember that thing I said earlier? The unlocking criteria means it only is available in New Game Plus files, so it's incompatible with normal any % type categories from the word go. Well, I lied. By way of a semi-obscure Easter egg, plugging in a real Hyperblaster into the second controller port will instantly put the in-game Hyperblaster into your inventory for free, even on New Game files, at any time. Wow! Now we're off to the races. Just go ahead and buy that peripheral that's going for, like, $70 second-hand on eBay, Jesus. So slap that sucker in, and it's the red Hyperblaster. The weakest one. The red Hyperblaster just isn't very good. Setting aside the logistics of whether or not it'd even be considered legal to use this kind of Easter egg to access a bonus weapon on a fresh file speedrun, the red Hyperblaster just isn't good. Now, this is based on information I couldn't really find documented anywhere else, presumably because most people don't have random $70 light gun peripherals lying around to try this with. But the power of the Hyperblaster you get by using this Easter egg depends on the difficulty you selected at the game's start. You get the weakest red version for picking easy, which is the difficulty any % uses. You get the stronger yellow version for selecting normal, and the strongest green version for hard. So maybe it'd be worth selecting normal mode to have access to a strong-ish weapon from the start? Well, no. We already ran into this problem back in UFO ending, and the logistics haven't changed. The numbers just don't work out in favour of increasing the difficulty. So, yet again, the Hyperblaster does not work out. Another dead end. But wait! Someone said in a moment of presumably mad reverie. Didn't you say that plugging in the Hyperblaster added it to your inventory at any time? Yes? So you don't have to plug it in on starting the game, you could do it in the middle of the run. Okay, sure, but the gun still sucks, so why would you want to push the inventory? What? Push the inventory! And thus it was so, a shining point of insight that finally attains the Hyperblaster some relevance. In the back third of the game, you need to use a pair of pliers on a faucet in order to retrieve a key. Silent Hill type stuff, you know. In order to use these pliers, you generally need to menu over. One space to the left. But if we, during the cutscene prior, plug the Hyperblaster in, poof, we've inserted it into our inventory, pushing the entire inventory over one space to the left, removing the need for that menu input, saving us from moving one space to the left. And how much time does that save? About 0.2 seconds, give or take. And that, friends, is the most obscure time save in Silent Hill speedrunning. It needs a $70 peripheral to work, and only works on PS1 and PS2, because you can't plug a light gun into other consoles or digital versions. And you may ask, does anyone actually use this seriously? Surprisingly, yes. As of writing, this extremely marginal time save is used in the current world record for the game. It's so marginal that nobody really thought it was worth banning, despite how esoteric it is, and honestly, is there any other speedrun where you can save time by plugging a light gun in mid-run? It's legendary, easily the worst return of time save per dollar spent on hardware I've ever seen. By all means attempt to find a worse ratio. In fact, consider that a challenge. If you know something dumber, let me know. But for now, that's the story concluded. I hope you enjoyed listening to the history of the least sensible way to save time in a survival horror game. Thank you very much for watching. Hello again. Thank you again for watching that video. If you liked it, please leave me a like and a comment, and consider subscribing to the channel so I can know that people like these things and do more of them maybe. I'm not really a YouTube kind of guy, but it does genuinely help the algorithm to do that sort of thing. So again, thank you very much. If you want to see me at Twitch, I primarily am a Twitch streamer, you can find me here. And if you want to follow me on Twitter to get updates on the times where I actually make videos, you can follow me here. That's the self-promotional stuff out of the way. We are now in sort of the post-video credits rambly bit that I do because I want to. Because the credits are not going to be very long, but I do have people I want to thank, primarily Big Man Japan, because his high DPI scans of the Silent Hill Perfect Navigation book are what I use to making this video a little easier. Like, I do own this book. I didn't buy this book for this video. I've had this kicking around for a while. It's a nice book, actually. It's actually written from the in-universe perspective of Harry Mason. It's like officially published by Konami as well, so it's a official piece of Silent Hill fiction, you could say, but it's never been translated, and I'm not going to be the person to do it. It's like 120 pages long. My Japanese is not up to the task of translating a whole book. That's not happening. But anyway, about the video. The video itself, I like to give people these little cheeky peeks into the creative process. This video took about a month to make, which was probably too long. Probably too long. It probably doesn't take a month to make a video that's only like 9 minutes long-ish at time of writing. But a little thing happened shortly after I finished writing the script for the video, known as Shin Megami Tensei 5 came out, which completely ate my free time for like 3 weeks. I got nothing done, and eventually I was like, you've been sitting on this finished script for weeks, Punchy, finish a video. So I challenged myself to get it done by the new year, which it seems like, with any luck, I will be successful in doing, because at this point, the video's basically done, as I'm speaking into a camera right now. So that's good. But as for what inspired me to make the video in the first place, this actually was born out of the writing the second Speedrun Odds and Ends video. So a couple months back, I think, I forget how long it's been, I made a video called Speedrun Odds and Ends. Please give it a watch if you want. It was a short video, basically a proof of concept to see if I remembered how to make YouTube videos in general with an editing program. It had been a while at that point. And it seemed like it was received well. I got a lot of positive comments about it, people seemed to like it, so okay, I was like, cool, I'll start writing a second one. So I did, because the first video was quite short. And this came into it. The Speedrun Odds and Ends video was a video about, like, mini stupid time saves in speed games, because I know a lot of dumb stuff, so I put them all together. And this was one of the things I was writing into the second video. The 0.2 seconds you saved with the Hyper Blaster. It seemed like a good fit for that video, right? But then, as I started to expound more and more on what led us to arrive at the conclusion of using the Hyper Blaster for that, the script got quite long, and I was like, this is getting too long to fit in like a video where you're supposed to fit like 4 games into one video. So I thought I can break this into another video. So I did, and it became this instead. I don't know if I'm ever going to get around to actually making the second Speedrun Odds and Ends video at this point, but it did at the very least result in this. So that was pretty cool. I think it worked out in the end. I like the way this came out. Watching it back in the edit. I think that's all I really wanted to say. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye for now.